Y'all, we live in difficult times. There's war, political unrest, the pandemic, poverty, families being torn, communities ripped by gun violence, and people dying every day. Police, injustice, it's all bringing so much pain. But y'all, we can look inside our minds and we can understand who we are, become better, and do this thing like we've never done it before. But it all starts with our mental health, and I know we can do it. I believe in you because I believe in me, and I believe in us. Hello, my name is Gerald McGee, clinical social worker and therapist of Everyday People Individual and Family Counseling Center, and we're so happy to be here today. I'm here again with Delilah Greer, and we're going to have a discussion around suicide, which is such a powerful thing. You know what? If I had to start off with any thought or feeling, I would encourage everyone to be open and to be good listeners, because when it comes to suicide prevention, if we are good listeners and we can listen without judgments, criticisms, and condemnations, we can actually avoid a lot of suicides.
Oh, yeah. And that's why I say again, 75% of the parental families or people have no awareness that the children or the teenagers, they feel there's no signs or signals that they were going to commit suicide.
Right.
Or had suicidal ideations.
Especially
suicide.
Exactly. So with that being said, I think it's important in trying to close out this discussion that, number one, if a family member expresses suicidal ideations, that we should not judge them or be critical. Yes. We should try to become better listeners. We shouldn't diminish their feelings or emotions or try to make them feel shame or guilt, because they already feel that way when they say things like that. Number two, seek help and support. Yeah. A lot of times people will feel like they failed if somebody in their family feels this way. So they'll feel like they'll personalize it. And so that shame that they feel and guilt will keep them from seeking help for their loved one. But no, that's not true. I think also we have to gauge the amount of pressure and expectations that we have for our loved ones, for our kids.
Yes.
We need to make sure that we're not always putting a lot of pressure and expectations around grades and around things, because although we need to do well in those things, I think it's important for us to understand that life should be enjoyed and experienced, and it shouldn't always be about all these organized expectations, because that can be hard to live with all the time. When you hear about I believe the name was Katie Meyer, or the young man who played for Ohio State who admitted having suicidal ideations, and he talked to his coach about what he was feeling. You know, it's very clear. It's very clear to me that we need to be heard. Yes. And we need to take the pressure off of ourselves, because the constant pressure, when there's always something in life, when somebody's always got their foot on our neck, we at some point in time, we're going to,
nagging.
Yeah, we're going to have some challenges, and one of them may be feeling, and unfortunately feeling, like we want to commit suicide.
Yes.
But y'all, by learning to be good listeners, managing how we live so we don't put too much pressure on each other, giving people space to kind of be mindful, and
space and time
to be mindful and just be good in their own space.
Yeah.
I think those are things that are important keys to us reducing, simple, but for us to reduce some of the suicide risks that we have. And I could go on about kids, but
you could.
You know, because we can get into trauma and some of the lack of supports that, you know, families, we can get all into that. But in this discussion today, I don't know, you want to say anything else?
Well, basically, I think I'm on a 9-year-old, because last year before last, all the young people that I had were boys, and usually at that age, boys commit more suicide than girls, and all of them were 9. They didn't even know each other. They come from different families, no idea. So I just want to say, because the thoughts of the suicide starts around 9 years old. That's where if you would choose an age, it would be about 9 years old.
Right.
So, I would recommend that people get in touch with you.
Well, you know what?
It took me 5 years before I even met you.
You know what? Let's say let's get in touch with a therapist, because at this point it's challenging, to be able to reach out and help everybody. And that's one of the reasons why we started the podcast, to try to have a down to earth discussion about things, not overly clinical, but keeping it real. And I think about physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, all these things that might influence one's decision to commit suicide, bullying. But even when we talk about bullying, one of the most important factors was that it goes back to those other things I said, because oftentimes in life, people might be bullied. Bullying just didn't start today.
Sure did.
But the reality of it is, if you had an emotional support system, then you probably responded bullying differently. If you being sexually abused, you being physically abused, you being emotionally abused, and you feel isolated, you're more likely to have a strong negative response to bullying. But if you got somebody that got your back, telling you that you good and you gonna be all right, and I'm gonna support you, ain't nobody gonna treat you like that.
I see you got and somebody,
I hear you. Got your back, then you feel esteemed, you feel positive about your life, and you feel like you have a sense of purpose. But if you're all alone and by yourself, and nobody's speaking into you life,
and you feel unloved.
So
not nurtured.
So you vacate life because you feel you have no purpose. Look, when the body breaks down and it dies, is because the energy is not being used. So if I feel that I don't have any place, then I'm not going to be used. So I'm going to give it up. So we have to make people feel like they're worthy and deserving of being here.
Exactly.
So when we talk about suicide, I don't ever want to condemn or make anybody feel that they don't need to be heard, because I realize there's so much more to it. And a lot of times when people don't want to deal with it, is because they don't want to deal with the pain, the suffering, and all the hurt that's happened within their families, and maybe it's been for generations.
Transgenerational, transferring the energy and all the things that happen from one generation to the next.
And so that's why I keep saying we got to learn how to be good listeners.
We do.
Be supportive, and don't be ashamed to address these issues, because when we are ashamed to address these issues, we actually reinforce the likelihood that these painful things will happen.
They will happen.
So that's what happened. Oh my God.
You could go on and on.
I could go on and on. And I can go on, because we can get into the child adversity study and all these things, and look at the correlation between children experiencing trauma early on and how it leads to them being depressed, or having PTSD, or committing suicide. We can get into that, and that's a discussion for another day. But I just want to emphasize the importance of being a good supportive listener.
Yes.
And if you're feeling like you want to commit suicide,
call
988 211. First call for help. It's always good going to your nearest emergency room and getting help. Setting up therapy sessions are great, but when we're really in danger, we need to move immediately and get help. Do not wait. So you can preserve the life, because as I said before, suicide is the 12th leading cause of death in America, and it is so preventable. If we just had somebody in our corner that would stop and listen without condemnations and criticisms, we could save a lot of lives.
But I think it comes to belief systems again. A lot of people don't believe it's preventable. I think as a whole, in terms of the institution, that is something what we need to emphasize more and more.
Well, see, I think what you said is critical, but I'm gonna spin it a little different. Is that okay?
Do that. Oh, of course.
I think we deny it. We want to ignore it. We want to push it up under the couch. And so because we do that, we're not prepared to deal with it, because when we hear somebody wants to commit suicide, we thinking, well, this is anti-human. Why don't you want to live? Or this is immoral. You should never feel this way. So we push it underneath like, oh, don't deal with it. And as a result, it minimizes it. But then in the long run, as we talk about with other things, it blows up.
Yeah.
But when we start being open to the fact that somebody might actually feel this way, that they might actually want to vacate their life, then we'll move forward. Because a life that's been cultivated and nurtured and inspired, because some people just get caught up in the mechanical process because mama told me to or daddy told me to, and they work and they never really experience life. And then one day I feel numb. I want to feel something. Because I just been doing this. So we have to get to a place where we understand we gotta hear.
Got it.
Because we pushing it underneath, we not gonna address it. We can't work through this. We can't provide food and clothing for this. No, we gotta be emotionally available.
Say that again one more time.
Yeah.
That could be a good
We
closure.
can't work through this in a sense of working a job, but we can't provide food and clothing through this. We have to be emotionally available. We have to be able to talk in dialogue. And check this out.
Okay.
If we provide our children and our adults with emotional support, but particularly with our kids, if we also provide an environment where they are challenged and they deal with various emotions, they can handle disappointment and hurt better.
Of course.
But a lot of times I think another thing that we do and may also contribute to some of the reasons why children may have more difficulties now with suicide. And by the way, I think there's been a significant increase in the number of kids who use guns to commit suicide.
Exactly. That's what's happening.
But I think, but I realize that some of it is we try to keep our kids from feeling uncomfortable feelings and emotions. We try to protect them from everything. And as a result, when they deal with things that are difficult,
reality,
they have no basis to deal with their reality. So we have to find a balance between being emotionally supportive in a way where we're there helping them deal with their emotions and feelings in that way, and also giving them space to learn how to deal with emotions and allowing them to learn how to deal with grief and things that are uncomfortable and failures and losing and all those things so they can manage those things. It's just like they have to develop what I call emotional immunity.
Yes, that's what it's called.
Yeah, some emotional immunity. And you can't learn it if you're not exposed. Like we got to take
That's right.
They want us to take a shot, right, for the pandemic. They help us to develop some immunity, but we got to develop some emotional immunity to things so we can be prepared to deal with stuff. So, hey, sometimes that might mean you might allow your kids to have to deal with that feeling or emotion.
Yeah, and not enable them.
Them.
Culturally for us,
okay,
we do enable our children a lot, and especially mothers and sons.
Right. Exactly. And so, man, look, that's a discussion. But look, y'all, we've had a discussion, and we really want this is Suicide Prevention Month, and we really want everyone to really take home this message, to be open to the dialogue around suicide without judgments and criticisms. If you can do that, would be helpful.
The JCCs.
The JCCs. If you could do that, if it comes up, go get help. I know you might feel some embarrassment, you might feel hurt or pain, but go get help. Suicide is preventable. And we all need somebody in our corner. So no matter what you think or feel about a certain thing somebody is or somebody's not, try to be a warm hug. Try to be a soft voice. Try to be nice and have somebody's back, because you don't ever know what they're going through.
Say that. That's true.
You got anything else you want to say?
No, because we can go on and on this. Oh, yeah, quick.
Yes, ma'am.
This sister, when I lived in D.C., I saw her. She was a model, beautiful, but she would come to me for therapy. So when she came, I saw her, and we just got real excited to wave. And when she actually came to my office, I said, "You were looking so beautiful. Where were you going?" She said, "I was on my way to commit suicide." Yeah.
That was powerful. Did y'all have any follow up on that?
Oh, yes, for sure.
Gotcha. And she was okay?
Yeah. But see, that's, as you just said, you can't judge a person by the book or a cover. You get all this outside information and you haven't even checked in. You don't know what's truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just the way she said it. I said, you were looking so beautiful. We're so glad you came. Where were you going? What were you doing? She said, I was on my way to commit suicide.
And so that goes again. I don't know if she had family or friends or people
All
that
of the above.
she did. She had all those things. And were they hearing her?
Well, she wasn't saying anything. See,
Right.
that's it.
She wasn't saying anything at all. And that's why we have to listen, observe, and try to be non-judgmental. And in many cases, we'll be able to help our loved ones. In other cases, we won't know what's going on.
Exactly.
But we have to move towards being more aware, less judgmental, so we can help those that we can help.
Exactly.
Because even us trained professionals might miss some, but there's many more that we can actually help. Because most people will tell you, hey, there's something going on with me. I need help. And when they reach out, if we embrace them non-judgmentally, we can help them. But if we reject them because we think they're defective or immoral and they shouldn't feel this way, then we don't put ourselves in a position to actually help. Listen, I know this was a tough discussion, and it feels like we just been going and going.
I know.
But listen, y'all, if you have any thoughts, feelings, or ideas, go to the drop-down box, hit the discussion, and put your thoughts and feelings there. We'll be glad to hear them. And don't forget to like us and subscribe. Have a nice one, and we'll see you soon for our next episode of Therapy is Life, where thinking, feeling, and experiencing is well-being.
Yes. Thank you.